Hi, and it's story time again. And if you remember yesterday, poor Roman had a bit of an encounter with a smelly dog with worms in its bum. But today is called Wednesday, even though for us it's Thursday, but it's called Wednesday at school. And let's see what's going to happen. It says, I give a guinea pig a makeover and my teacher a breakdown. The next day, I took my £20 that my dad had given me to Mrs. McDonald. She was still cross from the day before, so she put it in her desk drawer without even looking at me. She spent the whole morning pushing Mr. Wiggles round in his exercise ball and ignoring us while we did boring math sheets. I know some of you out there don't like doing maths. At lunchtime, Gamble and I had our detention. As soon as everyone else had gone outside, Mrs. McDonald brought her shredding machine out of the big walk-in cupboard in the corner of the classroom. She plonked it down on my table along with a massive stack of old paper. Shred that, she said flatly. I'll use it as bedding for Mr. Wiggles. What should I do, miss? Should I shred stuff too? Asked Gamble. You know you're not allowed near sharp objects, Darren, she replied. Not after what happened with the knitting needles. Gamble sniffed. But that was an accident, miss, and anyway, how was I supposed to know that those year one kids would get in my way? Said Mrs. McDonald. I'm off to prepare Mr. Wiggles' salad. Miss Clegg will look after you while I'm gone. Miss Clegg rolled her eyes. Jane was also in the classroom along with Rosie. They were designing posters to advertise auditions for the people to perform at the old people's tea party. Rosie was so delighted about me being in trouble that I thought she might actually explode. As soon as Mrs. McDonald had gone, Miss Clegg stood up. I'm off to the toilet, she yawned. No talking. And off she went. We were alone. I fed the first sheet of paper into the top of the shredding machine. There was a loud whirring noise as the sharp metal teeth of the shredder pulled the paper down, chewed it up, and spat the bits into the box underneath. It was great fun. I did another, and another, and another. It didn't feel like I was being punished at all. In fact, it was the most fun I'd had since the donut disaster at the aquarium. Can I have a go? Said Gamble. No, I said. We're already in enough trouble. Plus, I'm enjoying it too much. Gamble stood there for a moment, looking about and twitching. Then, without warning, he scrambled into the sink, his feet inches from the guinea pig cage. What are you doing? I asked. You're not Mr. Wiggles onto the floor. Gamble was standing right in front of the cupboard, so he had to bend down in order to open the door past his head. I'm getting my donut back, he said. Me and Scratchy enjoyed the ones you gave us yesterday. From my seat, I could see that the gift bag with the half donut inside was right at the back of the cupboard, beyond the powder paints. A very uneasy feeling started building in my stomach as Gamble reached into the cupboard. The cage was right beneath the cupboard door, so Gamble had to stand to the side of it and stretch on his tiptoes, feeling for the donut with his fingertips. I'll tell, said Rosie. Oh, shut it, you sweaty butt waffle, said Gamble under his shoulder. Under it, over it even. I say, well, I've not heard that as an insult before. Rosie's mouth opened and closed a few times like a fish. Butt waffle? I wasn't quite sure what this meant, but nonetheless, I think it described Rosie pretty well. Yeah, butt waffle, said Jane. Then she smiled at Gamble, who was now teetering dangerously over the cage. Please, can I have a bit too, Darren? Unbelievable! Jane had turned bad and desperate. After all, that was the donut Gamble had put in his armpit. She was starting to give me the creeps a little bit. Got it! cried Gamble joyfully. Yes! hissed Jane. Then everything went wrong. You know, when people talk about things happening in slow motion, well, that's exactly what happened. The next 3 seconds seemed like a lifetime. Gamble pulled the gift bag towards him. His sleeve caught a pot of blue powder paint. It slipped off the shelf, somersaulted through the air, which felt like for hours, and landed upside down on the cage, releasing a massive blue cloud which slowly settled on top of Mr. Wiggles. Oh dear, this is not good. With the gift bag swinging in his hand, Gamble hopped to the floor and peered in at Mr. Wiggles. "Oops," he said. I rushed over to the guinea pig's cage. "Oops," I said incredulously. "Oops? Is that all you can say, Darren? The guinea pig is blue." "I'm going to go and find Mrs. McDonald. You're all getting done. This is great," said Rosie, skipping out of the room with a flick of her hair. "Oh no," cried Jane. "Please, Roman, tell Mrs. McDonald it was nothing to do with me. My parents are so strict they'll kill me." And Jane began to cry. Gamble suddenly became calm and businesslike. I guess he'd been in a lot of sticky situations before. "Right, you stop blubbering," he said to Jane. "Go and find Mrs. McDonald and stall her." Jane nodded quite meekly and did as she was told. Gamble pulled out the doughnut and threw the gift bag to one side. "And you help me sort out the mess." I peered into the cage. "My mess?" Gamble shrugged his shoulders. "Your doughnut?" But no buts," said Gamble. "Lucky I'm here to help." Before I could argue with him, he ripped off a chunk of doughnut that opened the cage, lifted Mrs. Mr. Wiggles up and set him on the palm of his hand. The guinea pig gobbled up its snack hungrily. "Don't give him any more," I said. "We're already in trouble for feeding him. That's why we're in detention." "My uncle always says sometimes you've got to break a few laws to get away with breaking the big ones," Gamble said with a big grin on his face. I didn't really want to know any more about Gamble's uncle, but I guess I could see his point. At least the doughnut was keeping Mr. Wiggles still while we thought of what to do about his blue fur. Gamble nodded towards the little silver comb that was next to the cage. I picked it up and carefully brushed as much of the paint as possible out of Mr. Wiggles. Well, out of his coat anyway. It helped, but there was a big patch on his back with the powder. It was all tangled into right down to his skin. Gamble placed Mr. Wiggles onto the draining board and examined him. "Do you think she'll notice?" I looked at him in amazement. "Darren," I said, "he's got a bright blue Mohican." "Cool, punk guinea pig," he grinned. "We can pierce its nose. I'll get the staple gun." "Don't you dare," I warned him. I wasn't sure if he was joking or not. Mr. Wiggles was wriggling very impatiently, so Gamble broke him off another piece of doughnut. "Hey," he said, "did you see that squidgy splodge running a competition? I noticed on that tray you had in your house, and I saw a poster when I nicked off school last week." I sighed. Gamble like this all the time. He has the attention span of a caterpillar. "I know, but there's no point. It's a big swizz. And anyway, this isn't the time. We've got about 1 minute to figure out how to clean the paint off this rodent." "Well, it's easy," said Gamble. "We can lick it off him. I eat paint all the time." Before I could stop him, Gamble's face was hovering over Mr. Wiggles, over his back with his tongue hanging out. I managed to stop him just in time. What a complete maniac. I mean, the paint was bad enough, but what would Mrs. McDonald do if she found us licking her guinea pig? Oh dear, poor Mr. Wiggles. Oh, I just got this image of the two boys now licking the paint off the guinea pig. Anyway, there's got to be something else we can try, I said. There's a dishwasher in the... It's getting worse. There's a dishwasher in the staff room, said Gamble. He sounded completely serious. This can't be happening, I said. We could give him a haircut, said Gamble. And how will we explain that to Mrs. McDonald? Well, say it got a shock and its hair all fell out, he said. Do you have any better ideas? Well, I thought, perhaps if we only trim off the blue bits? Well, you'll have to do it though, said Gamble. I'm not allowed to use scissors. Not being allowed to do something had never seemed to hold Gamble back before, but it was probably the best thing if I took charge. I took a pair of scissors from the scissor block by the sink. As carefully as I could, I held a lock of fur on Mr. Wiggles' back and snipped. A blue wisp fell away. I took a deep breath and trimmed a bit more and a bit more and a bit more. Then I stood back and admired my handiwork. Well, at least he's found a hairdresser that was open, eh? Well, I had managed to get rid of all the blue paint. But then again, Winnie looks like a monk now, said Gamble. This poor guinea pig. He's been licked. He's been turned into a monk. He's been told he's fat. He's having a bad day, isn't he? He was right. There was a large, hairless circle in the middle of Mr. Wiggles' back. This is really bad, I said. But we could give him a comb over. Oh, dear, my granddad used to have one of those. Or we could give him a comb over, said Gamble. You just brush the hair over the bald patch. My dad does it. Your dad's a human, I said, although looking at Gamble, I realised that might not necessarily be the case. Fine, said Gamble. Looks like it's down to me to save the day again. Give the scissors here. Then, with absolutely no precision or control, he started snipping away at poor Mr. Wiggles, who calmly stood there, munching more and more of the doughnut from Gamble's hand. I couldn't see anything until finally Gamble stood back to admire his work. Caw! He exclaimed. She was right about him being fat. I put my hand in front of my mouth. It was now clear why Gamble was banned from using scissors. It's official, I said. We're dead. Rubbish. Got rid of all the paint. This was true. There wasn't even a single speck of blue paint left on the guinea pig. Unfortunately, there was no white fur left either. Mr. Wiggles was completely and utterly bald. He looked like a miniature hippo. All that's left are his whiskers, I said. Oh, yeah, you're right, said Gamble. And with 2 quick snips, he took them off as well. Oh, stop it, I said, snatching the scissors out of his hand. You ruined Mr. Wiggles. Gamble screwed up his face. You know, you might be right. I reckon Mrs. McDonald's probably going to prefer him hairy. I wrung my hands together. This is really bad. You own up and take our punishment and then... Don't be thick, said Gamble, punching me in the shoulder. No way I'm letting my best mate get in trouble. Let's get some glue. Glue? Gamble plonked Mr. Wiggles down on the side and grabbed a pot of PVA out of the cupboard. Yep, we're going to spread glue all over his back and roll him in the white hair and you'll never know the difference. He is a guinea pig, I said, not a coconut macaroon. At that moment, Rosie Taylor appeared at the door. Just thought I'd let you know, Mrs. McDonald's on the way, she said in a big, smarmy grin on her face. And trending on Twitter at the moment, you two are getting done. With an evil snigger, she swept back outside. And so, the worst plan in history of the world quickly took shape. And that's the end of poor Mr. Wiggles' day for now. And tomorrow the chapter is called Two Guilty Monkeys. And I wonder who those guilty monkeys are. But anyway, I'll leave it there and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.